There are lots of tools in the Applied Strategic Foresight toolbox. This isn't even all of them. It's just a small subset of the strategy development and analysis tools. The challenge that we've got is which tool should we use and when? My name is Matthew Spaniel, and I'm presenting my paper, Organizing Foresight Tools, published in World Futures Review. In this paper, I ask a different question, namely, how can a problem orientation inform tool selection? And to answer the question, we inquire into the problem that the user or the users are facing. The central thesis in this paper is that if we can diagnose the problem space, then this can inform tool selection. I'll rely on two frameworks for assessing the problem space. Both of these are uncertainty frameworks. Why do we use uncertainty frameworks? Because foresight tools are in the business of generating knowledge about the future, and we generate knowledge about what we currently don't know. In other words, many of our problems are knowledge problems, that if we had more knowledge, then we could solve the problem. So let me briefly introduce these two frameworks, the level and the locus of uncertainty. The first framework, developed by Courtney and colleagues, identify 4 levels of uncertainty. Level 1 embeds the problem in a clear enough future, where the problem space is not perceived to be too difficult to anticipate. Perhaps we're a mature company in an established and slow-moving market. Level 2 characterizes uncertainty across different potential outcomes, where the future may bifurcate or end up in 2 or a few different end states, like an election outcome or a regulation that might or might not pass. Perhaps you might even know what those dates might be. Now, level 3 characterizes the future as a bounded range of futures where the system underpinning the problem is difficult to understand. Then there's the next level of uncertainty, where the system is not understood and the events are unpredictable. It could turn out any number of ways. Now, important to mention here is that this is not a spectrum or a gradient, but rather are different system states. So they can't be thought of having a progressively more uncertain state because they are actually state changes. And the next framework is the locus of uncertainty. It can help us diagnose the problem space, right? This was first conceptualized by Emery and Trist at the Tavistock Institute in the 1960s. Their starting point was that the case organization or the group or a group of the area of concern or problem, right, would be then the actors that would prove to shape their environments. They described this group as being embedded in a network of actors that represented different organizations and interests. In this so-called transactional environment, the case company could indeed interact and influence with these actors. In business schools, this entails the industry structure derived from Porter's 5 forces, the competitors, the suppliers, investors, and those essentially that you can communicate with. You can shake their hands and to a greater or lesser degree influence. These network actors exist, in turn, within a context, right? And this contextual environment entails the political, the economic, the technological, and the social factors, right? Or the pestle factors, which change over time, that then shape the behavior of the actors in the transactional environments, which then shapes the way that the case organization behaves. Yeah? So while case organizations can influence the transactional environment, their capacity or opportunity to shape the contextual environment is much more limited. Okay, so that was the second uncertainty. Okay, now let's juxtapose these two frameworks against one another. Across the top, we have the levels of uncertainty, and then down the side, we have the contextual and transactional environments. By putting these two against one another, we create 8 octants. In the paper, I report on the results of a survey I performed where I actually asked respondents to identify the octants in which they can find an important problem facing them or their organization. The results demonstrated that there are problems distributed across all of the octants, which provides early indications of the applicability that this uncertainty landscape can cover. And then the next step in the research then is a bit more speculative and likely more controversial. Using desk research, expert interviews, and my own experience from the field, I began to try to place the tools onto the uncertainty landscape by analyzing how each of the tools' methodologies explains the knowledge that they are trying to generate. This slide, which is not in the paper, offers a current status of the organization of each of the tools. and it should be expected to grow. There are hundreds of strategy tools that are out there, and this is only a sub-representation of the strategic foresight toolbox. Again, some have been more difficult to situate on the landscape, and I read about these challenges in the paper. For example, frameworks and approaches that create rich experiential or immersive futures I have a hard time placing on this landscape. Even well-known tools like the futures triangle and the futures cone are difficult to place, as there are more frameworks than they are tools. Yep. So I do consider this early stage research and ask the audience what tools are missing and where do they belong? There's certainly an opportunity here to contribute, and please do comment below with the video with your ideas. There's more in the paper, and there's a link to that in the comments, and that's my paper, Organizing Foresight Tools, published in World Futures Review. So thanks for watching.